When mentioning Australia, people often imagine vast grasslands, sun-baked deserts, and majestic wildlife. But few people know that behind that beauty is one of the world's most severe wildlife crises. Wild rabbits, wild cats, red foxes, wild boars are scary enough, but wild camels are the most terrible threat, devastating the environment and economy. Could this seemingly harmless animal become Australia's #1 invader? In the 19th century, camels were brought to Australia as living transport machines, struggling to cross the dry desert and opening the way for inland exploration. But then times changed, trains and trucks appeared, and the camels were abandoned and set free in the desert. No longer bound, they multiplied like wildfire, turning from allies into fearsome invaders, spreading fear across this arid continent. Today, the wild camel population in Australia has exceeded 1.3 million, and if left unchecked, they can double every 9 years like a breeding storm. This expansion had dire consequences. More than 80% of the vegetation in many areas was wiped out. Native plants gradually disappeared, and indigenous people lost the traditional food sources that had sustained them for thousands of years. Not only sweeping away vegetation, giant herds of camels also monopolize water holes, wetlands and streams, rare lifelines in the arid desert. They destroy pasture fences, knock down water columns, and damage infrastructure that is the backbone of livestock farmers' survival. Faced with that danger, the Australian government was forced to make a decision to list wild camels as pests in need of urgent control, and to launch strong measures.
Good shot.
That's putting him down. Good going, boys. Oh, good shot.
The most direct and drastic solution: license hunters to hunt camels during the day, right in the middle of the burning desert. Each resounding gunshot, each heavy footstep on the hot sand signaled that the life and death battle with the giant invasive species had officially begun. Go back, we'll load, ready. A hunter's voice rang out across the parched air. Fire clear, load, stand by. Another man quickly circled around, eyes fixed on the camel's back, as wide as a plank in the desert. Camel herds gather in chaotic crowds, dust flying everywhere. Among the myriad of management measures, daytime hunting with guns has become the most popular option, both feasible and effective, making hunters the last line of defense against the threat of encroachment. These raids are usually undertaken by professional hunting teams, sometimes accompanied by licensed hunters. They carry high-powered rifles, powerful enough to take down a full-grown camel with just one fatal shot, quickly ending the animal's suffering. Daytime is chosen as the golden time, when the light clearly exposes every silhouette on the desert, helping hunters lock onto their targets with deadly accuracy. From hillsides and observation posts, shooters monitor the camels like commanders, watching every little movement through their scopes. They select the individuals to eliminate precisely, minimizing the risk of misfire and avoiding unnecessary injuries. During the day, when everything is clear under the sunlight, the hunting team coordinates radio and hand signals, dividing the area into dozens of square kilometers into an organized tracking network. In this long battle, vision and coordination between the shooters determine the outcome.
Oh, wow. It'll do. Good shot.
As the rate of fire increased, accuracy began to chip away at the hot barrel. Multiple shots vibrated the trajectory, and things became more chaotic by the minute. So the hunter must consider, shoot accurately or risk a burst. In large-scale operations, helicopters become the eyes of the sky, coordinating smoothly with the ground team, firing from high altitude while guiding the pursuit. The hunt becomes a tactical symphony between heaven and earth, where every decision determines the fate of the prey and the safety of the human. This method allows covering large areas, shortening time and improving efficiency. The hunter must master long-range shooting, calculate the wind, measure the distance, and keep a steady hand. At ranges of 100-300 meters, and sometimes longer, the large caliber rifle and optical sight become allies. Each shot is filled with tension, anxiety, and determination to protect the crop. Across Australia's arid rangelands, more than 1 million feral camels roam, and if left unchecked, that number could double in just 8-10 years in a breeding frenzy. Direct economic losses have exceeded 10 million USD per year, not including control, management costs, and socio-cultural losses. Faced with such a threat, the government and federal projects have had to launch a large-scale management campaign to contain the level of destruction. Camels in Australia usually breed during the rainy season, which is around November to March, when food and water resources are most abundant. Their gestation period is quite long, about 13 months, and each time they usually only give birth to one baby. Although the reproductive rate is not as fast as rabbits or wild pigs, but with a huge population of more than 1 million, if conditions are favourable, the number can double, enough to put terrible pressure on the environment and agriculture. Hunters are forced to take action to control the camel herd's terrifying reproduction rate. On the arid fields, pickup trucks roar as they move, their tires crushing the hot red sand. The hunter stood firmly behind the truck, rifle loaded, eyes following each giant figure running around. The whistling wind, the roar of the engine, and the pounding of his heart made for a breathless chase in the vast desert. Good shot, a decisive shout rang out. The hunters aimed precisely at the chest or head, each shot ending quickly. With large herds, they coordinated rhythmically, taking down each animal one by one to avoid panicking the whole herd. The hunt ended in heavy gunfire, both a victory and a burden on the shoulders of the land defenders. It sounds easy, but hunting camels in broad daylight is a tough challenge. The desert sun burned the skin, the rugged terrain drained the strength of each step. The camels were not weak at all. They ran fast and persistently like survival machines in the desert. If not killed, the pack will scatter in all directions, turning the hunt into an endless, tiring and dangerous chase.
It's a focus thing.
Not only is each shot difficult, the bigger challenge lies in the sheer size of the camel herds that stretch across the desert. A single raid could last for days, consuming fuel, weapons, and manpower. This pressure forces the government to calculate every penny of the budget, and at the same time call on the community to join hands. Because this is not just a hunt, but a fierce battle to regain balance for the entire continent. The giant camel lay face down in the sand just a few hundred yards away. The hunter tightened his grip on the steering wheel. The car rolled slowly, each wheel grinding the red soil, opening up a vast scene as if painted straight down to the horizon. The moment the fateful bullet rang out, the beast fell, and remorse crept into the hunter's eyes. Allowing camel hunting during the day is not only a temporary solution, but also an important step in limiting the impact of this invasive species.
Good shot.
This activity helps maintain ecological balance and utilizes meat and leather as a source of income. But as the camel population continues to increase, the question is there a more effective and humane way to control them? Do you believe that a small species can change the ecosystem? Subscribe to the channel to follow more fascinating stories about invasive species around the world.
Oh, good shot.
Shot.
Huh?
Some studies have shown that buffalo numbers in many parts of Australia have doubled or even tripled in just 50 years. According to Nature magazine in 2019, the buffalo population in Kakadu National Park has exploded dramatically from about 160, 2,000 inches, 1,960. It jumped to 1.5 million in 2014.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
The explosion in buffalo numbers not only disrupted local ecosystems, but also left a heavy mark on the global climate. Each buffalo emits methane, a powerful greenhouse gas that contributes directly to climate change. As the buffalo herd grows each year, methane emissions skyrocket like an invisible bomb that heats up the earth faster than ever. Faced with the threat of wild buffalo herds exploding and destroying the environment, Australians are forced to launch strict control measures. It is not just a normal management action, but a war to prevent this giant animal from continuing to sow danger to the global ecosystem and climate. Dawn has just broken over Australia's arid Kimberley Desert, a land famous for its giant herds of buffalo, and the stillness of the space suddenly becomes tense with excitement. In the pale light of early morning, hunters and native farmers gripped their weapons tightly, their eyes fierce. They were ready for a dangerous hunt where every step contained unpredictable danger. After hours of weaving through scorching sand dunes and tangled underbrush, they finally spotted a giant buffalo, more than 40 inches tall, with powerful curved horns. No one dared to make a move. The experienced hunters immediately applied their knowledge of the terrain and the hunting habits of this wild animal. They quietly approached, calculating each step carefully, always keeping enough distance to avoid a sudden attack that could turn the hunt into a tragedy. The decisive moment finally came. In a split second, precise shots rang out. Power and concentration converged, bringing down the giant buffalo after hours of extreme tension. The atmosphere was filled with both relief and satisfaction of those who had overcome the challenge of life and death. And after each hunt, they share their experiences, skills and emotions, deepening their memories and creating stronger bonds between people, as well as with this harsh land. That is how to maintain spirit and unity in the fight with wild buffalo. To avoid being detected, the hunters must move very quietly, as silent as the night, without any unnecessary noise, because even the slightest mistake is enough to reveal their position. Hunters must coordinate closely with teammates, absolutely avoiding noise or gaps that could alert the buffalo. Patience is the sharpest weapon, silently watching, waiting for the golden moment to strike decisively. Because just one beat slower, the hunter will become prey before the fierce charge of this giant beast. A small mistake can turn the hunter into prey. Do you believe that? Comment your thoughts below. In the heat of a hunt, every little detail can mean the difference between safety and comfort. Each rifle shot is thunderous, reaching 140 decibels, enough to permanently damage hearing. Therefore, noise-cancelling headphones become a silent shield, protecting the hunter's ears from invisible damage. Not only do they prevent damage, they also help them stay focused, listen to the breath of nature, and wait for the moment to take down their prey. The sound from the rifle reverberated at a speed of nearly 1,700 meters per second, like thunder tearing through the sky, enough to numb the hunter's ears. Therefore, noise-cancelling headphones are not only a safe choice, but also a vital shield in hunting strategies.
Look at him.
But the day brings a different challenge. The bright light spreads across the wilderness. The sparse vegetation makes the vision seem to be swallowed up. In that moment, the hunter feels every drop of sweat rolling down, eyes straining to search for the prey, where all senses are pushed to the limit. Through binoculars, hunters observe the buffalo herd from a distance, capturing every movement and behavior. This helps them identify targets quickly, saving time and avoiding the risk of being detected by the giant beast. When hunting buffalo in Australia, hunters must have a valid hunting license. This license is usually issued by an Australian government wildlife management agency. Hunting season in Australia usually takes place in winter, from May to August. Hunting licenses have specific regulations on the number of buffalo allowed to hunt, from 100 to 200 per hunting season. These regulations were not created randomly, but were based on rigorous scientific studies of the buffalo boom. However, the wild hunting environment has more than one enemy. Hunters may also encounter other ferocious animals such as lions, the king of the savannah, where just a look is enough to make the blood run cold. In this case, the hunter needs to stay calm, not run away, and use weapons or other means of defense if necessary. From that reality, the hunter understands that entering the wild means entering a real battlefield. They must always carry a sharp knife, wear sturdy protective clothing, and most importantly, know every corner of the terrain and the habits of wild animals. What do you think about this hunt? Leave a comment below the video and subscribe to the channel to join the next hunt. But the story does not end there. Hunting buffalo with guns has sparked fierce debate. Many people object because the loud explosions not only sow fear, but also damage the fragile tranquility of the natural environment. People fear that gunfire causes stress to other species, and that hunting with guns also poses a risk of environmental pollution. The use of guns in hunting has the risk of polluting land and water and negatively affecting the ecosystem. Therefore, the government needs to tighten management and supervision. And you, do you support gun hunting to deal with buffalo in Australia?
You hit him. Let's reload. That's a shot.